welcome to today's keynote. As you can tell from my accent, I'm not Mark Wilson. My name is Paul Fair and I'm the IBM Z Client Skills Leader for Europe. I'm delighted to be able to stand in today for Mark chairing the keynote session, not least of all because it's my boss who's actually delivering it. Now, before we move on into the session and I introduce Meredith to you, I just wanted to cover just a few bits of housekeeping. I'm sure now, as we're into the second week of the conference, that you're all familiar with the fact you joined as mute. You'll remain in mute for the whole of the session. If you have any questions, please use the chat window and Meredith can have a look at those as we go through and hopefully get to answer most of them at the end. The final request, as usually, is if you can provide us with some feedback, that would be fantastic. For those of you who actually use this medium of presenting, where you're actually getting no feedback whatsoever from the audience, it would be quite useful for us to understand how these things have gone, what's worked well, what hasn't. So if you can use your agenda, there is a QR code on it and on the front of Meredith's presentation. So without further ado, I don't think anybody else waiting, I'm delighted to introduce, as I said, my boss, Meredith Stoll. Meredith's the VP of the Z ecosystem and is helping to build skills and strong community of partners for IBM Z. So over to you, Meredith.
Great, thank you so much, Paul. Really appreciate it, and thank you for having me here today. Once again, my name is Meredith Stoll. I lead our IBM Z ecosystem group and really have the privilege of being able to work with students, with our entire community, with open source communities, with our partners, with our ISVs that are out there supporting all of the software on our platform, as well as our system integrators to really build that vibrant ecosystem and build that vibrant community. So today I am going to go through a little bit of a presentation. I really want to talk a little bit about 2020 and what's going on in 2020. Talk about some of the business imperatives that we're seeing, some of how business priorities have shifted, and also how that then impacts infrastructure development in our entire ecosystem. I will get into a little bit about what we're doing from a community perspective, introduce you to some of the initiatives that we have going on if you're not familiar with them, for both students, for new to Z, and also just for the broader global IBM Z and Linux One community. Now, just to kind of orient, I've got your chat open over here. So if you see me looking over here, that's because I'm checking out what's going on in the chat window. All right, I've got over here, I've got the different attendees. So if you see me looking over here, that's what's going on. All right. So with that, let's go to this next section and get started. So truly in 2020, the current reality absolutely shatters the assumptions in all of our business models. The stress faults of many operational models have been exposed. In fact, globally connected supply chains that were optimized, or at least we thought they were all optimized, we thought they were low risk, but about 94% of the Fortune 1000 faced COVID-19 triggered supply chain disruptions. And these disruptions, they continue today. Many of the store shelves, at least definitely within my town, they remain empty. And inventory, whenever I go online shopping, it's consistently unavailable. So absolutely causing disruption. And, you know, it also highlighted that a lot of organizations, they've been slow to implement digital transformation. So while it's the vision of about 70% of the executives when they were asked, they said that their companies either have a digital transformation strategy in place or are working on one. But when you take a look at it, the percent of IT spending on growing and truly transforming the business has decreased 18% since 2009. And the same thing, although 90% of organizations globally were on the cloud in 2019, only about 20% of their workloads actually moved to the cloud. And a lot of organizations, and I'm sure you've heard this multiple times, use 8 different clouds or more. But 84% of executives find it very difficult to create that scalable multi-cloud platform because of cost pressures. So these organizations and our businesses, your businesses, they're truly facing massive changes to their priorities and they're shifting. And in fact, some of these changes are highlighted here that are truly impacting what's going on in our business environment. some of these massive changes, 4 times the number of employees are working from home. And I'm sure, you know, especially as the UK goes back down into lockdown, it's going to even increase. 45% now versus 11% before COVID. This requires businesses to change their internal processes. It needs to ensure that employees are able to work efficiently, and putting even more emphasis on being agile and implementing DevOps in a virtually compatible manner. 84% of executives are expecting customers to prefer online channels of engagement. So what does this mean? It impacts how we deliver our services to our clients and our customers, and they need to be more digital. The outcomes from those digital transformation initiatives are really what we're looking for, right? But we need to accelerate that and show it today and show it now. It also, in turn, results in unexpected need for increased capacity across these digital channels. So businesses need that agility to dynamically scale to meet the compute capacities and demands in a very non-disruptive, cost-effective, and very dependable manner. That sounds like a platform I know and love. One that can deliver that confidence and the ability to respond to these unprecedented changes and that demand. So in today's environment, that very nature of IT infrastructure, it's absolutely being challenged by sporadic and unforeseen workloads. And I'm sure many of you have probably experienced this. But they also need to be able to quickly switch data centers to meet availability requirements. Not only are we facing COVID-19, but we've also been facing a number of environmental forces that are truly disrupting existing locations and our workforce availability, whether it's the fires here in California, whether it's the hurricanes that are going through the east coast of the US and many other areas of the world. In addition to this, 57% of customers are now seeking environmentally or socially conscious products and services. So in fact, more than 30% of Germany's post-COVID recovery aid is tied to those green initiatives. So there's a much higher level of focus that's being put on how businesses are delivering goods and services. And that includes more scrutiny around that responsible computing. So I want to talk a little bit, and we'll discuss a little bit more about this, but the fact that the core quality of services that IBM Z and Linux One are known for, that security, that scale, that resiliency, it delivers the flexibility and the confidence and that predictability that businesses need specifically during this time. When we look at the top 3 priorities that are coming out as a result of these changes and as a result of this business impact, 3 immediate needs come up. 1, survival, just flat out survival of the business. The ever increasing pace of change, new product cycles, unforeseen challenges, it's absolutely driving that focus on demand management, as well as ensuring that there's a very beneficial customer experience. The need to speed digital transformation. And for IBM Z, what does that mean? This platform needs to be interconnected through that hybrid cloud and the application modernization. There needs to be ongoing transformation, evolution, and reinvention is truly the key. And it's going to enable these organizations to navigate that inevitable next shock, whatever it might be. We know it's out there. Second is simplification. So complex processes, whether it's internal, external, they're absolutely inadequate for the pace that's needed in today's environment. It's driving that need to simplify. So whether it's deploying through containers, implementing agile development, ensuring that modern tools are being adopted within the organization so that you can ensure you have that sustainable workforce. It's truly driving that need in the IBM Z space to adopt common and modern tooling. The third priority really is around superscaling. And what this means is that to stay in business, clients have got to drive for competitive advantage. And the ability to adapt and benefit from both new technology is essential, but also ensuring that we're maximizing the existing investments, as we know that cost and economy is very important during these times. once again, if you guys have any questions or anything that pops up, just please feel free to put them over into the chat. All right. So first, I just want to go a little bit deeper into survival and what that means and what these priorities mean. So that's that increase of pace and change, the speed of new product cycles. I mean, just look at masks, right? I mean, how many, imagine all of the product cycles and the speed to supply for just that whole new market. And it's ever changing. There are unforeseen competitors, right? Whether it's a new business, whether it's operating and technology models that are new, customer expectations. Absolutely, customers are wanting that digital experience. They expect more open, transparent, real-time, intelligent, secure, very secure, seamless, and they want to integrate it into their lives and into their businesses. So those customer expectations continually go up as far as what they're looking for from a services perspective. So that need to truly speed digital transformation is imperative. For IBM Z, it truly means that making it that central hub of a hybrid cloud strategy. Modernize and transform infrastructure, modernize and transform applications and data, expose and connect those existing assets all across the enterprise for optimization. Adopt modern cloud native tooling. Once again, that's common across all platforms, whether it's used by administrators, developers, architects, to minimize the specialized skills that are required. So that once again, that ongoing transformation, that reinvention is absolutely necessary. And let's talk a little bit about what that means from a Z perspective. So we have a digital transformation model, and it's going to meet clients and partners wherever you are on that journey. Many clients have already initiated this journey of transformation. As I mentioned earlier, many organizations have had this strategy, so they might be somewhere along the line on that journey. It could include core modernization. It could include expansion of their ecosystem and leveraging a broad set of industry providers of various functions, right? It could be incorporating open source. It could be incorporating new ISV package solutions. But across this journey, there are numerous entry points for transformation. And IBM Z offers that unique value proposition across the entire spectrum of options. So whether you're modernizing applications through APIs, just kind of that first step is at a minimum getting those APIs in there and opening that system up to connect it out there to the cloud and connect it into that hybrid cloud environment, whether it's infusing automation, exposing higher value data integration, so truly doing some data modernization, integrating open standards, as I mentioned before, for example, introducing containerization or cross-platform orchestration across the entire enterprise. So no matter where you are within that journey, and ideally you've already started it, we can meet you where you need to be. And I mentioned earlier, responsible computing, that this is becoming more and more a priority. And it's truly becoming what not only are governments looking for, but consumers, our clients are truly looking for responsible computing. And it's something that is really driving from a demand perspective. Not only are we looking at, that doesn't mean just, reducing environmental impact, but also responsible infrastructure, responsible code, responsible impact through tech for good initiatives. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing from a Master the Mainframe contest, and actually has that tech for good component this year. So let me give you an example of how IBM Z plays very well in this space. And it may be something that I'm sure you probably already know, but I want to put some numbers to it because this is something that you can truly bring up as a true value of this platform, particularly in this era. So one example was a company. So in an effort to comply with the Netherlands Supreme Court decision to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 25% compared to 1990 levels by the end of 2020, one Dutch local government organization actually replaced part of its x86 server IT infrastructure with IBM Linux 1. And by moving its Linux applications from 47 x86 blades to 11 IFLs on Linux 1, energy consumption for that organization is now projected to be reduced by 80%. It resulted in 946 fewer metric tons of carbon emissions over 5 years. That's pretty impressive. Another European financial institution was considering a move of some of its IBM Z applications onto an x86 server. And they decided to first assess what is that anticipated energy consumption? What's the impact to energy? And they did a carbon footprint analysis, and it indicated that the institution's energy consumption could triple 76% if moving to an x86 environment from its existing Z. At that time, they had a Z14. And then in addition, they did another analysis that found that if they deployed those onto a new IBM Z15, it could reduce energy consumption by 14%. So pretty impactful as far as what our platform is able to do from a responsible computing perspective. Right. As I also mentioned that with that increase of online demand and those digital channels, with more and more individuals shopping online, working online, everything is digital at this time. Cloud elasticity has been absolutely critical. In fact, IBM Z clients temporarily activated a total of nearly 4 times more general purpose capacity through that capacity on demand in second quarter 2020 as compared to the same time last year. So the ability for businesses, once again, to leverage the investments that they've already made and take advantage of the key design point to be able to dynamically turn on needed capacity, ensured the delivery of the service of their services to their clients when they needed it the most. You guys are a quiet bunch. I haven't seen any chats coming through. Moving on to the second key component and the second key priority, simplification. So as we were talking, while processes and ecosystems are becoming more and more complex, and that could be driven it could just be the processes that have been in place for a while. It could be by regulatory compliance. It could be complex supply chains. Continuous simplification is a key priority now more than ever before, because these processes become inadequate. And once again, as I mentioned, even internal processes become inadequate when you have such a large workforce that's working from home, required for this pace, and it's virtually impossible to master that complexity. So it truly is driving the need for simplification through DevOps and also implementing open source standards and tooling to help drive that skill sustainability. Because we need individuals when they come into our organizations, they bring the knowledge of existing tooling that may be out there. So let's let them leverage that and help to accelerate their productivity on the platform. So DevOps, I'm sure you've heard this before, but one of the key components, it truly is that union of people, process, as well as tools. It takes all of those to enable continuous integration and continuous delivery at the speed that clients need at that high quality. So from a people perspective, we absolutely have to ensure that everybody delivering value to the business is working tightly together on a common goal of adding value. Everybody's rowing in the same direction so that it can go even faster. From a process, DevOps is about improving processes, because even if you have highly motivated people that are working well together, you may still have several business processes which can just get in the way and could really block innovation. Tooling. There are products, tools, services that can help enable DevOps practices, whether it's continuous testing, whether it's integration and delivery. But even the best tools, if all you have are those tools, DevOps is just a buzzword if you don't have the right culture. And this is one of the most important things from a DevOps perspective and from being agile, is truly that DevOps culture. So This means increased collaboration between roles, development, and operations. And sometimes there are very important cultural shifts within teams and at an organizational level that support this collaboration are required. But it is possible. You can transform your ZOS environment to a true modern DevOps practice. There's absolutely nothing about Z that's going to stop you from doing DevOps. There's enterprise-wide standardization, end-to-end cross-platform delivery pipeline solutions that integrate all of the open source and the third-party tools, allowing you to balance between that open source as well as from enterprise tooling. You know, we've got some of the open source and third-party tooling and integrations are listed there at the bottom of the slide. Git, Jira, Jenkins, right? Just to name a few. These are very familiar tools to individuals that are coming out of colleges today, but also those over in the distributed area, right? Those individuals that we want to work with, that we want to ensure that we're connected with across the platform or across the enterprise to bring the IBM Z platform to be on par, to just be another platform that everyone understands within our organizations. I also want to talk really quickly about automation. Continuous testing is also a key part of DevOps. So that means testing earlier in the life cycle, reducing costs, shortened testing cycles, continuous feedback on quality. All of this, once again, goes to the need for that simplification and the need for speed during these times. When you combine automated unit testing capabilities, intelligent test case identification, and all of these other areas, you truly have some game changers that can differentiate you when you're trying to be more agile. And finally, that implementation of modern development practices. I can't emphasize this enough since I work so heavily over in the skills area and helping to build that talent pipeline for the future, as well as just overall adoption and trying to link organizations between their cloud to the on-prem and to truly create this hybrid cloud environment for the future. It's important we're able to all talk the same language. And so those common tools across the stack is what we really need to attract that new generation to this platform. We need to bring current development practices to this environment, and we can do that by looking at the distributed pipeline and bring it to the Z platform. This is one of the things that we're working on from an ecosystem perspective with many of our ISVs, not only those that are currently within our ecosystem, but those that we're onboarding and bringing into the ecosystem. And so we need to bring that to the Z platform, but it's not just about bringing the tools. We can bring as many tools to the platform, and many of them are already there, but it's about embracing and adopting this new way of working. It allows for cross-training of developers on very familiar tooling, so they don't need to learn specific tools. In fact, you'll see within the Master the Mainframe contest this year, for example, we've incorporated VS Code, we've incorporated Python, we've incorporated Bash, we've incorporated Ansible. So really incorporating all of those modern tooling, but still teaching the core fundamentals of the platform. Thank you for that comment, Steve. Appreciate it. Okay, Superscale. Obviously, we know that IBM Z can scale, but Superscale is talking about something slightly different. In order to stay in business and really truly prevail, as most of our clients strive for competitive advantage, the foundation for their strategy has got to be not just new technology adoptions, new options that are out there, but also it's even more important to leverage and get the most out of your existing investments. So where there's a business advantage, use technology to amplify that, superscale that business advantage with technology. So with Z at the core of hybrid cloud, leveraging open source modern tooling and applications, you can get the most out of this system, right? With Z, you've got the information, you have that core compute power, harness it, and use it for AI to gain some insights. One of the core competitive advantages for companies is their data. Therefore, gaining access to that data, being able to quickly leverage that data to gain insights, improve client experience, integrate across the enterprise is crucial. IBM Z is a primary system of record for many of us, and there are significant advantages in overall client value when real-time information can be integrated with the ecosystem, and when requests for change can also be initiated in real time. So in order to facilitate that integration, there are all kinds of tools out there, processes and services across the board that can accelerate that process. You can optimize analytics with real-time insights right there at the point of interaction, as well as infuse more and more artificial intelligence with business transactions, whether it's fraud detection, auto loan approval. This is truly, whether it could be in operations, it's truly what enables companies to superscale and leverage their existing technology investments to deliver business results. So the net here, and what we're learning is that for many clients, this pandemic is spurring us, not just the pandemic, but many of the other disruptions that are going on in 2020 are spurring us to accomplish in months what it previously would probably have taken years. So some key points here: reaffirm digital transformation. It's more important now than ever before, and it's needed, and we need to accelerate that. Enterprise transformation, it's never complete. Those organizations that clearly thought they were done probably realized that they weren't, and truly place transformation at the center of the strategy. Ensuring that you're rethinking your organization as an organism. In other words, working together for across your organization, ensuring that you're aligned. They told me to turn this off and I didn't, sorry guys. Ensuring that we're aligned across our entire organization. Now, during these times, it could be that cost cutting is essential, right? But not in the traditional sense. So we're not gonna be able to save our way to survival this time, right? But what we need to do is look at it as a mechanism of redirecting our resources to enterprise transformation investments, right? How can we funnel some savings into transformational technologies and other investments that truly promote flexibility and help us to regrow our businesses, or really take our businesses to the next level? So looking at it from a completely different perspective. And re-embed change as a fundamental cultural principle. If you haven't done this before, now is the time to do it. The recent months have been a shock to everyone, from the frontline staff all the way up to the CEO and everyone in between. And it has become very clear that we need to model our leadership, our culture on that ability to change. A flexibility is necessity, if you will, is absolutely needed. And that's where we have to change our processes. That's where we have to implement DevOps, Agile, and truly, once again, it comes back to that digital transformation. And what we're also seeing is, because of the strengths, the inherent strengths, its heritage of security, resiliency, scalability, demand for IBM Z and IBM Z skills continues to be very high and growing. And so I just wanted to share with you some of the recent results from the BMC survey. So they had over 1,000 respondents. And from that, 90% of those respondents see this platform for growth and long-term applications. 56% are already using DevOps. And the one that was most interesting was that increase in the rate in the priority of rate security. They rate security and compliance as the #1 top priority. In prior years, it had been cost cutting, but this year, security and compliance is the top. We also have an incredibly vibrant community, and this was made very clear on IBM Z Day. So we hosted IBM Z Day. It was a virtual conference hosted on the 15th of September. And we had over 11,000 registrations. And it's probably gone up since then because folks are able to watch the replays. 79% were non-IBM. So We wanted to definitely get this out to folks within IBM and across IBM, but our key target truly was our external community. And so 79% of those almost 12,000 registrants are from organizations and from our ecosystem across 96 countries. And on the day of, we had 9,000 live views. What that means is we had 9,000 participants just on that one day. I've always said that when I came over to IBM Z about 5 years ago now, and I have always said that this is the most passionate community I have ever met and I have ever seen. And I know that there's this vibrant community that's out there, but really until we had this IBM Z Day, to see the entire community come together, and it wasn't just those individuals that were already a part of our community, but it was also new to Z. Students, we had over 1,000 students join us for a 24-hour codeathon. We had all types of new developers coming and wanting to learn the basics, right, of what is IBM Z and how does it fit and why do I need to know this? I keep hearing the buzz. So this truly represented, to me, kind of a key point in time where we were able to bring this vibrant community together, and as a proof point that we are out there, we're vibrant, we're alive and well, and there's no stopping us, and we're continuing to grow. So I was really happy with this, and it truly took our entire global community coming together. And there were tons of really great sessions. I highly recommend that you take a look at some of the replays that are out there. You can go out to our IBM Z and Linux One community and check some of those out. Check out those replays, they're still available. The other initiative that we've just recently started is our New to Z community. And while we've had New to Z groups all around the world, obviously within the UK, within the US through Share, in other other areas within DACH and within Germany. But what we wanted to do was bring those together from a global perspective and connect everyone into a single global community. So not only do you have your local initiatives and local events, but then now also they can connect globally to that much broader New to Z community. Whether you're a sysadmin, whether you're a developer, anybody who's really just starting to build their career, anyone who considers themselves a beginner or an intermediate is how I put it. Whether you could be 2 years into your career, you could be 7 years into your career. If you consider yourself kind of a beginner or an intermediate on the platform, this is the community for you. It's where you can, as I mentioned, really start to build your career and connect globally and locally. It helps to provide a space where you can connect with your peers, ask questions, bounce ideas off of each other, share experiences. You can talk to subject matter experts and product developers. There are all different types of mentoring events, for example. You can find out what's going on near you, whether it's virtually or in person, hopefully. At some point, access training. So any type of topics that come up that are really, might appeal to New to Z, we try to bring those up in this user community. You can find opportunities to give back to your local community, help inspire that next generation. So for example, get out there and share master the mainframe and do some virtual meetups with some of the students that are out there, and really help to increase your overall personal image. Now I know that Teresa has a session, I think it's tomorrow, that'll go a little bit deeper into New to Z community. So highly recommend that you attend that. And if you can't attend it, to watch the recording. It truly is that great place to jumpstart that early professional career. We also highlight not just new and foundational training on here, but we do have things like the ZOS Academy, which is focused on individuals who are about 2 to 5 years into the platform to help accelerate their learning to go from beginner to intermediate or to that next level as quickly as possible. And once again, all at no charge. So get out there, go out to the IBM Z and Linux One community. You can just Google it and find it and join that New to Z community and user group. The other thing I wanted to highlight is we have absolutely turbocharged our student outreach this year. We continue to have our Master the Mainframe, but as I mentioned earlier, we have completely reimagined it this year. Not only have we incorporated some of the more modern tooling into the contest, but once again, still teaching the key foundational skills that are needed. We've also changed the interface of it to make it a little bit more gamified, make the user experience a little bit easier to follow. And so we've done quite a bit with this, with the reimagining the Master the Mainframe. Last year we had about 25,000 registrations for Master the Mainframe. We're hoping to really knock that out of the water this year. So we could use your help, and I'll show you in just a minute how you could help do that. The other thing that we've implemented this year is a Z Ambassador program, a student Z Ambassador program, where students from around the world volunteer to be basically the student on campus, the student, lead the student community there locally for their campus. And we provide them all different types of resources to do this. And they lead student groups and student events there on campus. And we've got quite a number of those. And in fact, they have to apply to be a student ambassador. And so we had a number of applications, and we've got those student ambassadors all over the world. In fact, they helped us tremendously during our 24-hour codeathon that happened. They were the ones that actually helped to host these events. And so that mentioned that I wanted to bring up there was, we did have that codeathon associated with our IBM Z Day. It was very successful, and we continue to host 1 to 2 to 3 hour events for students all over the world. All right, let me check to see if there's anything that's popped up. So I could use your help. We want to get this message out to students all over the world, definitely students within the UK and within your backyard. And now is a fantastic time to do this because many students are at home. I don't know about you, I've got 3 school-age kids, and I am all out of entertainment ideas for them. So we've created a Master the Mainframe pod with some friends and having the kids walk through it and learn. So no matter, as long as the kids are 13 years plus, they can participate in Master the Mainframe. And the really great thing, once again, as I mentioned earlier, there is a true increase in demand for tech for good, an increase in demand from an environmental perspective and just from an overall global perspective of making a social impact. And so once again, this year we are offering to feed 2 children a day for everyone that finishes level 1. So just 1 hour of coding could feed 2 children. And in fact, we're going to be upping this a little bit as the holidays approach and doubling our donation. We call that IBM Z for Good. So please feel free to share this through your networks. If you know students, if you know faculty members, if you have connections into local schools, please let them know about this. So just for 1 hour, they can really make an impact from a social perspective. It's free, it's virtual, no experience is required, but it introduces them to enterprise computing in a field that they most likely don't even know that they might actually love. I also want to call out just let's see, I think there's a question. Let me just see real fast. Does the new president alter IBM's focus on global warming reduction? I can't answer that one. I don't know. But what I can say is that what's going on in the world today is already altering the demands from our clients and the demands from consumers to truly focus on impact for good. So we'll see together what happens with that. IBM Z influencers and what else we're doing kind of around from a broader ecosystem perspective. This is just a couple of things that we've been doing here in 2020. A couple of things that I want to highlight. Number one is around the amount of foundational learning that's been put out there and made available for anyone to access at no charge to help truly onboard individuals onto the platform, get them access to the systems. We launched last year the ZOS Practitioner Certificate, and that's made up of 3 different courses. It's a foundational ZOS course. It is accessible at no charge. You can access it through Coursera. You can access it through Pluralsight if your company has access to Pluralsight, or you can just go to IBM training and access it there at no charge. This comes with lab exercises. So as you go through the training, you have access to the system and you complete hands-on labs. This year, we also helped to create an introductory COBOL course. Came at just the right time earlier this year. We've been working on it since late last year, and we did that in collaboration with a client as well as a local community college and IBM pulled together to create an open source COBOL program that is now being open sourced through the Open Mainframe project. We have seen tremendous interest in this. And in fact, we host weekly COBOL webinars, and we see continuous interest in that. We've had over 200 attendees almost at every single one of these. And it's gone from, and we have all of those recorded, and it's gone from an introduction to COBOL to now moving into modernization techniques, leveraging COBOL and other languages as well. So that's really taking off. And once again, that's using, leveraging the VS Code tooling. Another one that was just recently released was around Kix and an introduction to Kix. We're also in the process of creating even more training and foundational training, once again, to really help with the on-ramp onto the platform. The COBOL course also is hands-on, once again, so access to systems to be able to test that out. All right, so we've got quite a bit that's going on. Systems Magazine, I'll just highlight that real quickly. There was a huge issue in September. I highly recommend that you go take a look at it. A lot of articles around the New2Z community and how it truly is vibrant and continuing to grow. Master the Mainframe, I already talked about, but I can't say it enough. Help us to get that out there. And we continue to build all types of digital communities. And speaking of our digital community, please join our digital community. So you can join their IBM Z and Linux One community. It's right down there at the bottom. You can check out all the new Master the Mainframe, explore IBM Z day sessions, stay up to speed on what's going on, connect with other peers, find out what's going on near you, and really connect globally with the entire community. All right, and that's what I have for today. Let's see if there are any other questions that came in. All right, it doesn't look like it. So Paul, I think that we can just close out with the to-dos.
We can indeed, Meredith. I think there's I posted a couple of links in there for anybody who's interested. There's also a link to the session that was done last week, if those are interested in more detail around what's free, available digitally and available from IBM. So let's have a look at that session if you want more details and links to a number of the resources that are available. To close out today's session, this was K6. If I can ask you to use the QR code or go online and actually provide some feedback to Meredith, that would be brilliant. There's one more question just coming in.
Just a comment. Thank you very much, Eileen.
Brilliant. Thanks, Eileen. So in which case, thank you, Meredith. Really appreciate your time this afternoon. That's a fascinating walkthrough, and I think some areas for focus for people to start thinking about what's actually happening and the sort of arrival of potentially a vaccine, which will start to hopefully open things up for next year, we can start to progress towards some of the things you've shared. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Hopefully next year in person.
Many thanks, Meredith. And thank you.
Thank you.
That's this session finished.